Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Your Delusional podcast hosted by LaTerra, Wair. Hi, guys. So welcome back to another week. I was not here last week. In transparency, I've been going through it, but we're not going to talk about that today. I don't want to talk about the sadness or nothing like that. I do want to talk about something that kind of spun from this. You know how they always be saying there's beauty in the sadness, and this episode today is the silver lining. In the methods of my madness, in the thoughts of my chaos, in the depths of my soul searching, I have just been thinking, like, what is life for? Am I doing this right? It just is coming up to me because I'm just like, is there really like a right way to do life? Like, does anyone know what the right thing is? And like, if we're doing the right thing? No, I think it's just all a bunch of feelings, and you hit milestones and markers, some that we make, some that society makes, some that whoever makes. And this is all kind of stemming because I've just really had a lot of time lately to sit down and just think about like my personal life and all this kind of stuff. So I've been thinking about a lot of that. Am I doing this right? Like, what is right? And I think right can be subjective to you once you understand what right is in the context of like the role that you play. That's a whole different conversation about, you know, like the role that you play in. I don't necessarily mean just like gender roles or anything like that. I mean legitly like, what is the role that I play in this earth and the universe, time and space now. All of this is kind of just taking me to a topic, my grand plan. Guys, there's literally, I'm looking at the spider crawl in the corner of my room that I'm filming this in, and it looks crazy. To me, I don't necessarily know what right is, because I feel like throughout several moments of my life, I wasn't necessarily doing something because I knew what I wanted in the end. I was just doing it because I thought it was the right thing to do. So something that happened to me that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, that I thought I was very alone in this. But I went to college right after high school, not because it is what I necessarily had in the part of my plan in life, because in all of life, honestly, like, I'm really glad about all the stuff that I did learn in college and everything like that. But a lot of things came from me practicing on my own. And the success level that I have in my craft that I would like to pursue is like a lifetime thing. It did not how do I say? That was nurtured in college for sure by giving me tools and resources, but it's not something that I necessarily learned like in practice and all this type of stuff. And then what I was practicing in college, it was because I decided to take on an extra job opportunity, but that also could have happened in real life. I'm saying all this to say that I'd never had to go to college to get out of what matters for what I want to do with my life. What I did gain from college is being able to have a degree, which lets me put that on applications. It like allows me to put stuff on applications. And so it just shows that I have put time into learning whatever skills that I'm learning. And for me, that is communications, because that's what I got my degree in. Going to college wasn't something that I did because it's just something that I had a dream to do. I had a dream school in mind, but I did not apply to my dream school because it was not like a feasible option for me at the time. Like, the way my life was set up, I was not ready to move halfway across the country to go to the school that I wanted to go to. Therefore, I didn't really think about college like that. And true story, I applied to the college that I graduated from because my best friend told me that she also applied there and she got in. And she was like, yeah, just apply. And so I applied and I got in, and that's literally how I went to college. But if not, I probably would not have gone to college after high school. It's not something I just wanted to do or that I felt like I wanted to do. It's just something that I was like, I guess this is just the right thing to do. But when I look back on it, the money that I did spend on college, or the money that I'm spending paying back for college, that is something I also could have put into courses and crafts and been further in an actual like trade. I did all that. And then after I did all that, I graduate, and eventually I ended up more so figuring out a plan on ways to use the skills that I wanted to use, that I want in the rest of my life. But again, that isn't something that necessarily happened because I went to school. So it was a lot of me figuring that out afterwards. Just a lot of, so what do you want to do? What do you think is the right thing? And I think that now that I'm 5-6 years post-grad or whatever, I'm finally settling into just being like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the plan. But even in settling into that, there's still a lot of just kind of back and forth about how far do you want to go into this? What all do you want to do in this? And all this kind of stuff. I just say all that to say that I don't think that there ever really is a correct plan. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if like I'm supposed to have everything figured out at this point, or not everything figured out. I know I'm not supposed to have everything figured out, but I don't know what I'm supposed to have figured out. When I talk to other people, or if I talk to you guys, it's a lot of the same things, right? Like everyone's just kind of like, I think that I'm doing the right thing. I think that I'm doing the right thing. And that, you know, that just is what it is. And I think there's like a beauty in that, is that you all think that you're doing the right thing, even though those are all different things. But the right thing and the right path is just subjective to you and based on what you feel like is the right path and the right thing for you. I've been sitting here really thinking about that, and from like talking to different people in life and seeing how everyone's life is kind of unfolding. At this age, I've learned that all those like little meme posts that people be seeing, and they're like, you will learn that in your 20s, and you will learn that in your 30s, and you will learn that in your 40s. What they say about learning in your 20s is that you basically, this is the point in life where like you have friends that are still in school. You have friends that are living in their basement, their friends' basements. You have friends that are married with successful 6-figure, 7-figure careers. You have friends that on their 5th child. You have friends that are grieving parents right now, right? The 20s is such a mixed bag of just emotions and different things. And so it's really hard to gauge where someone should and shouldn't be, because this, I feel like, is one of the most like turbulent times in people's lives, to be very honest with you. And a lot of people are just trying to fucking survive. They're not just sitting here like, oh my gosh, I am doing this and I'm doing that. It's like, no, dude, I'm literally trying to catch my breath. I'm trying to like learn how to get through lessons and learn how to get through things that I've never had to get through before. So it's kind of hard to know like what's the right path, and if you're on the right path of doing things. I feel like that's just such an interesting thing to me lately. Truly, for the longest time, let me speak for myself. What I've always been taught and what I've heard from people is that, you know, you go to school, you get through your early to mid 20s and you kind of figure it out. People start having families and you start really navigating into life. But like, I always have felt like that's crazy, because people aren't necessarily only living to be 60 anymore. I'm figuring out basically this huge ass part of my life, picking the career I'm going to be in the rest of my life, having a family and doing all this stuff really early on, instead of kind of figuring things out and figuring out like who I am and what the path is supposed to be. That given path, I feel like just sets you up to be set in life. And then from 30, 35 on, like this is just the rest of your life. For me personally, I'm totally down with there's some things that you do the rest of your life. And if you can, you should. But I also think that I don't want to live in the same like routine like that, I guess. And then once my children get older, I'm just supposed to like go to work, come home, do all this. And you know, I understand it's not as like generic and simple as that. To me, that's just always how that sounded and how that's felt. And I've just been like, you know, it's not, that doesn't sound too like appetizing, too appealing personally. Is that the plan? Is that what is supposed to be the plan? Because I don't really like that plan. I don't even know how to explain that. I just don't like that plan. I don't like the whole like you're supposed to be finished and settled into everything at a certain age, I guess, because there's just so many things that can change in 5 years. So imagine what can like happen over that course of time. And I don't know. I think sometimes maybe what that's trying to just teach people is that you gotta you got to buckle in for what's to come, I guess. And so you should have a plan, and that's cool. And I'm very pro planning, and I think that everyone should have a plan in some type of aspect for their life. I just think that, I don't know, what is that plan, and what is the right plan? If I feel I need one of those models that gives you like a timeline across, and it's like, okay, at here, and here, you can make from these 3 choices, and this will like speculate out whatever. But that's free will, and free will is beautiful, and I think that's also the thing, is even though there's no plan, there is a plan, and you have to just find what that is for you, and it'll be easier. Do you guys ever have those moments where you're sitting here really thinking like, are you doing life right, or all the thoughts that you're having right, or like, is the confusion that you feel right, or anything like that? Or are you just kind of like, yeah, I know I'm doing life right? Because me, no, baby, I don't feel like that all the time. Navigating from that, one of the things that really opened my perspective about, am I doing things right? And I talk about this quite often, is literally just moving home with my parents. For the longest time, when I left home at 17, and then when I left home, I didn't come back until I was 23, almost 24. For those like 6.5, 7 years, I was not at home. And for me, that is something that kickstarted my adulthood in a way. And it just made me feel very adult-like. And it made me feel very like, this is where I am. This is the path that I'm leading down within my life and stuff like that. And so from that, when I moved back into my mom's house, it really, I think, changed my mindscape. And it only changed it so much because I feel like I've always been taught that you should not stay at your parents' house forever, right? And so I just was like, okay, like I'm an adult, I need to move out and all this stuff. But like, when people say everything costs more when you're grown, everything does cost more when you're grown. Not legitly cost more, but because you're paying for everything out of your pocket, like everything does cost more. I've always understood the amount of money and stuff that my parents are putting out and taking care of us. When I got older and started doing those things, it was just like a certain little sadness that creeped in with it, because I was like, dang, like I have enough money to pay for my bills and stuff like that. And that's something that I'm very proud about. But I'm also sad because I have to like legitly be an adult. Moving home when I was 20, moving home at 23, it just really showed me that leaving that early does not necessarily make you a better adult or a better person, because in the long run of things, anytime you leave home, unless you're paying like hella bills at home, I don't think you should be paying hella bills at home. But if you're paying bills at home, once you like leave and stuff, like things do change. Things are more expensive. And unless you are putting money into something that you will own forever, or you will get to sell and get a profit from it or whatever like that, you're just paying out money to someone. There's benefits to living at home, like longer living at home. And I get really nervous to walk this line, because I'm not promoting people just sitting at home and leeching off of people. But I am saying that the plan doesn't always have to be to like jump off the porch as soon as you can, right? Like sometimes it's okay to sit, sometimes it's okay to go back home and to learn those things and to learn those lessons. And I think going back home and me understanding and kind of submitting to the fact that I don't know if what I'm doing is right. I don't know what the plan to doing is right. Because like I said last episode, if I was correct, I wouldn't have been wrong. I think it was just so much easier for me to work on myself and understand that there is a lot more complexities that come to life than just being able to provide for yourself, right? You have to work on yourself internally. Like no one wants people who are walking around just being fucked up versions of people, and you're providing a good life for yourself. You're still an asshole to people, and that's not okay. And that also prevents you from being in different like living situations you don't want to be in, because living with other adults is hard. getting screwed over by other adults is hard. I have been in those situations, and that sucks. There's a certain like cruelty I feel like that comes with leaving out of the nest so early, if you want to put it that way. And it's nothing that I would trade personally because it's made me into a better person. But I do think that if I wasn't so into this kind of like ideology that I have to do this because this is what everyone's telling me is the right thing to do, instead of me sitting down and thinking to myself, like, what is right for me? Like, what is right for the path that I want in my life and all this stuff, then it would have been so much easier, right? I think that all the time. It would have been so much easier. But I don't want to say I was peer pressured, but I was like society pressured, I guess. I've just always thought like, you in your mid-20s, in your like whatever, like you should not be living at home. But I don't really think that for real. It's just kind of, I think you should live at home as long as it is a feasible option, as well as long as it's not crippling you and it's not hurting your parents or anything like that and everything like that. Like, I definitely think people should grow and you should expand your horizons and expand your environment so that you can grow as well. Sometimes you really have to just stop and think like, am I doing the right thing? Is me moving out going to be what's best for me, or is it going to set me back and I'm trying to build myself up while also having building blocks? Living in different adult situations because I was scared that I wasn't doing something right at the age I was at felt like going forward 7 steps and then getting knocked back 5. So you're still making progress, but it's not as much progress as you could be making. I guess that's just one of those like in-depth, hyper-focused situations I've thought about recently. Or in buying my house, I've kind of like thought about that. Not with buying my house. I think buying my house was a very great decision I've made. But just the concept of living at home, like the money that I would be putting into an apartment that I wanted to get the things that I want to have in the apartment literally would just be a waste of money that I'm putting to waste every month for what I wanted to do. And I had to understand that. And so that caused me to stay at my parents' house like a year and a half longer than I thought I was going to. But I had to just tell myself, I'm doing what I think is right. So, and only I know what is right for me. And so it's just kind of hard to take in all the outside noise once you understand that concept and you understand that like only you know what's right for you. That's something I've been thinking about. That's been on my chest. And I want to tell you guys about it. I wanted to like just ask you guys, do you guys ever have those thoughts and those feelings where you don't know if what you're doing is right? Or like, what's a situation where you felt like you were going along with something because you were just told like this is the right thing to do? You don't really know what you want to do, but you just know, I guess this is the right thing to do, so I'm gonna do it. I think those are the little pockets of time that I've been living in right now, and just thinking about those types of circumstances and situations that just be randomly popping up and stuff like that. All of that just kind of leads me to just say that like you don't ever know when you're doing something right. You kind of sit back and you look and you just evaluate the whole picture, I guess, and you realize, was I not doing this right? You just have to figure it out, you know? Yeah, let me know, drop some comments. We are on the topic of just life and life changes and all that kind of stuff. We are going to move on to our You're Delusional topic. Our You're Delusional topic today is actually another life choice that I have made personally, and I kind of want to know what you guys think about this one. That you should not move in with your partner too young. I agree and I disagree. I think that sometimes two people who are young and very like-minded, that you can find each other and you guys can be in the stage that you can grow together through, and that growing being like good and bad growing, because there is going to be good and bad times as you guys try to get older and to become the people that you want to be and that you will be, right? So I think that in that aspect, I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to move in with someone when you're really young. I say that as someone who I lived with my first boyfriend when I was like 20. like 20 going on 21 type of situation. And it wasn't necessarily like a bad experience in the beginning, but in the end, it turned out to be really, really bad. And that's because we were both, I guess, really young people, and we did not have similar mindsets at all in that way. So, but that stuff only comes with time, and knowing that only comes with time. I do think, though, that if you can live apart from your partner, it is something that I would suggest that you guys do at least for like a year or so while you guys date. And then after you know each other as people, like separately, you can try and combine lives. Because I feel like when two people try and like push their entire lives together too quickly, it doesn't leave a lot of room for like natural compromise and stuff like that may happen. Therefore, it'll just kind of all boil into this like huge blowout. And that's something that you do want to avoid. For those reasons, very specifically, I don't know. I kind of teeter on that line, but what do you guys think? Have you guys ever moved in with a partner young? One, if you did that work out? Did that not work out? Or if you haven't, what are the reasons why you haven't done that? Or what are the reasons why you would, I guess, suggest to not do that? Either way you feel or say whatever you say, there's very much so no judgment, because like I said, I am someone who has done that. And just because it didn't necessarily work out for me does not mean it has not worked out for someone. So let's be mindful of that. If you were leaving a comment. Getting into the what we're watching segment, the what we're watching is basically where I share a TV show that I'm watching with you, or a movie, and you can share what you're watching back with me, and I will check it out. Lately, I have been on my TV Zoom. As you guys know, I am watching The Flash. I'm finishing that up, but that is not my what we watching today. My what we watching is actually a TV sitcom called Martin. I'm sure that everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's like a late 90s, I think, sitcom. It's really good. It's just like a really feel-good thing. I think that lately I've been kind of going through some mindy-windy things, and because of that, I've been really leaning on sitcoms and cartoons and like just like little feel-good things. And so I have been watching that lately. It's like a smooth 20 to 30 minutes. It came out during that time where like Living Single and all these other kinds of shows were coming out. Like it's like a Friends feel good sitcom, and not the show Friends. I mean like a group of people, actually, like a Friends sitcom. But it is kind of in a way like Friends and like the stuff that they go through type of situations, but it's like all Black people, which is great. As I've gotten older, it's really relatable. It's really funny. It's feel good, like I said. And it's a quick like 20-30 minutes. You could watch it on like a little lunch break to give you a little quick boost me up or anything like that. But that is what I've been watching. Please let me know what you guys have been watching. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast. If you are an audio listener, please be sure to rate our podcast on Spotify and Apple Music. And if you are someone who is watching, hello, thank you for tuning into this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know how we're doing. If you guys are interested in more like behind the scenes or questions or anything that you have, please be sure to follow the production company at LT Legacy Productions on Instagram or Facebook. And then if you want to follow me and kind of just what I do on my day-to-day, aside from posting weekly vlogs and shorts and stuff like that, you can follow me on Instagram at the LaTerra Wair. With all that being said, I will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. The Your Delusional podcast is produced by LT Legacy Productions and hosted by LaTerra Wair.